Hey, welcome back here on Coastal Daybreak on the Talk Station, 8:46 in the morning. Mick Mixon joins us from the Carolina Panthers, the voice of the Carolina Panthers. Welcome back, Mick.
Nice being back in the Southeast, although we came back without the hardware that we were desirous of. I hate that, but...
Have you adjusted back to Eastern time?
I think so. I never really flipped over to West Coast time. I tried to, but I just kept going to sleep at 9:30 and waking up at 4:30 most every morning out there.
Well, you see, you could have been on live with us. We could have had you on it.
It wasn't the worst idea I ever heard once I got out there and couldn't really adjust. But how'd everything go back in North Carolina?
We did our thing with Westwood One. We would rather have had y'all on, but it worked out fine. But let's get the Cam stuff out of the way here first of all, because I've exchanged some conversations actually with Bo back at the WBT on this. I think we forget that Cam Newton did his best Bill Belichick imitation, I think, actually, in that press conference.
Well, that's true, and I think a lot of it is how old are you and what's your culture. I mean, I'm 57, so do I wish that every player wore a coat and tie to a post-game press conference and looked everybody in the eye and stood up ramrod straight and accepted criticism and deflected praise? Of course, but that train left the station a couple of decades ago. Guys come in different shapes and sizes. I do think this: Cam Newton didn't dog cuss anybody. It's not like he was up there leaving his teammates out to dry or throwing F-bombs.
No.
He's a genuine guy. You may like him or love him or hate him, but he's authentic. He's joyous in victory, and he needs to work on his sulking. But if that's the worst thing you can say about him, then I think we'll keep him.
I'll take that. In fact, the more telling picture is his congratulations of Peyton Manning at the end of the game.
Well, that's true. I mean, teammate to teammate, or player to player rather, he's got a lot of respect for the history of the game and wants to be a part of the history of the game. It's hard, Ben, when a player who's just lost on the biggest stage in sports has to, 20 minutes after the game, has to sit in front of reporters, most of whom who've never had a jock strap on in their lives and don't really understand. They're just doing their job, though, and Cam's got to respect that, and I think he will moving forward.
Yeah, I think so. What he has to, and I know I've spoken to public officials. I've given workshops before about how to talk to the media, because one of the things, having been a sports reporter too, and you know this, is that the reporters, especially in that chaotic thing, that was worse than a locker room, really. I mean, everybody wants to thrust their microphone before him and get their question answered so their audio and their video can make it on their air. And there's a vanity thing.
Well, true, and I'm not making any excuses for Cam. That's not my job. My response to questions like yours, Ben, is not going to be any institutional verbiage. It could have been handled better, and I think it will be in the future. But I also think we got to realize that what we're rolling with is not a Buick Enclave. It's a Ferrari, and when you got a Ferrari in the garage, when it's right, dual overhead cam, naturally aspirated, fuel-injected horsepower for days, envy of the neighborhood. But there's nothing like it. But it is going to be a little more temperamental, and that's Cam Newton.
Well, I once drove a Ferrari, and they drive like trucks if you have to drive it at 30 miles an hour. So
it's not very happy going slow, is it?
No. So let's move on from there, because I think the bigger discussion here was that, and several of the players said it, they missed opportunities. I think, if I remember which player was talking about it, but they were talking about how you would get someplace and then you're step back. We had so many pre-snap penalties, so many times where we were dropping the ball. I've never seen Mike Tolbert drop two, and he recovered one, but he lost one. And we had offensive line just could not get that protection against an outstanding defense.
Certain things are just a part of the laws of football physics. They're going to be a handful up front. So that they got pressure on the pocket really doesn't surprise me. The Panthers could still have won the game despite Von Miller and Marcus Ware.
We were only a touchdown down in the fourth quarter.
Precisely. The thing was, I said on our broadcast, it was like a band that everybody's playing okay, but you just got one instrument. that's a little bit out of tune. Every song, it's a different instrument that doesn't seem to be in tune, and that was the Panthers in this game. There were veteran players making small mistakes, whether it's a ball not caught cleanly, giving the defense the opportunity to close in, whether it's a penalty. Panthers had uncharacteristic 10 penalties for over 100 yards in this game. You got perhaps a misassignment, a blown protection.
Yeah.
There were just little death by 1,000 paper cuts kind of things in this game. Against a lesser opponent, you can do it, but in the Super Bowl against that defense, I mean, the Graham Gano's field goal that bounces off the upright.
Right.
It was just not the Panthers' day.
And as in the Atlanta loss, we saw things turn really after that first that personal foul penalty that came early in the game in Atlanta, and here a challenge that did not go our way really kind of changed the mood there. I think for one that I don't still, unless that's the Des Bryant rule, I really don't understand why we didn't win that challenge. But those are a couple of things that can infiltrate the psyche of a team.
They can and did, and the Panthers have themselves really just to look at. The Panthers ran this one play, the double pass to Ted Ginn. Ginn's going to throw the ball back to Cam Newton, who's held. There should have been defensive holding on that play. On the Graham Gano field goal, it was a quick takeoff by Denver. They looked like they were in the neutral zone at the field. There's a little thing. You can't blame it on the officials.
I was yelling at the screen right before the last interception. I was yelling at the screen that a defensive player, his head and shoulders were past the line of scrimmage.
I know. This is the overarching sentiment to me, because we can get in here and just dissect it and get all mad because the official should have called it. The Panthers' joy was missing.
Right.
We never led, so we never had that swagger, that effervescence, that just almost a bubbly bacon sizzling in the pan. You can smell it, you can hear it. We never had that deal where you don't want any. You may be leading, but you don't want any part of us. This is not going your way. We're going to tattoo you guys. The Panthers never got that confidence. We just looked uncharacteristically tight, and hopefully this will be something that we will learn from in Super Bowl 51.
Right, and yes, because we're the early favorites. Panthers are the early favorites. I thought that was pretty funny. But the one of the things I think we have to remember is that also Cam did not put the blame on anyone else. He didn't.
Hang on a second, Ben. Okay, babe, love you. I might follow you.
All right.
Okay. My wife's going to the gym.
Okay. All right. But and one of the things that went unsaid, I think, is that there was a point near I forget. I think maybe in third quarter when Cam went down hard and he came up, kind of pulling his left arm up, and I think his left shoulder got pretty banged up right there, and he didn't run the ball again after that. So I think it went unsaid, but I think there were a lot of people hurting. Stu was hurting. There were a lot of people hurting during that game.
There was that one series of downs where I can't quote you verse and chapter, but there was one series of downs early in the game where it was a 3-and-out. A couple people got hurt. We lost a replay challenge and gave up with a long punt return. I mean, there was some crazy thing where 4 or 5 bad things happened just on one. And how about the play where the Panthers punt the ball, Ted Williams comes down, thinks there's going to be a fair catch, thinks Norwood's going to call a fair catch,
right?
Bumps him, but doesn't just break down, stand there to make the tackle. The we lost the special teams component of the game too.
Yep.
Their punter did an unbelievable job, just laced the ball high and then directional punting. So the Panthers are no juggernaut, but it is sad. There's a sadness associated with it when you win 17 of 19 games. You have this historical season, and when will the Panthers ever get to play in the Super Bowl again against an offense that's that inert?
Yes, right. I mean, our defense actually held up their end of the bargain.
Crushed them. Denver was 1 of 14 on third downs, 7%. They gained less than 200 yards for the game.
Yeah. So it was on the offensive side. We just could not handle their defense, and that was the crux of it. And that's what we'll learn from, I think, as the Panthers go forward. So we look forward to the next season. I'm still a big fan and always will be. And in fact, I had to now think I might have to get an Ely or a Quan Short jersey now.
Latule played well too.
Yeah.
Really, that whole D line played well. That gives you hope in the future. And then Coney Ely, if the Panthers could have won the game, Coney Ely could have been the Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, absolutely. He could have been. It was, again, it was sad to watch, but I think we have and again, we look for whether or not we can keep this nucleus together, and we look forward to that. And as we get closer to the draft, again, we're going to have you back on so we can talk a little bit more about those prospects, too.
You know it. Look forward to it.
All right. Thanks, Mick.
Thanks, Ben.
Have a good time at the gym. All right. Mick Mixon, the voice of the Carolina Panthers, with us here, brought to you by Chick-fil-A of Morehead City.